In this video, we will understand what servlet is, the life cycle of the servlet, and then we'll see a few examples on this servlet. So servlet, it is very important part coming to web dynamics, right? So your servlet helps creating the dynamic content in the website. So it acts more like your controller. So it gets the data from your front end, then it sends back the request and it sends back the response. So all these things are handled by your servlet. Now your servlet has a life cycle or it has a process cycle what it follows. So here whatever you're seeing is the life cycle for your servlet. So your servlet has first classes loaded, then you have servlet instances created, and then you have init method call, then you have service method invoked, and you have destroy method invoked. So first it loads, then it creates instance, then it calls the init method, then it runs the service method and it destroys the service method, and it keeps performing again and again. So what does it mean by loading a servlet class? The first one, as you can see, load servlet class. So this class loader, it is responsible to load the servlet class. The servlet class, it is loaded when the first request for the servlet is received by the web container. And then coming to your create servlet instance, the web container creates the instance for a servlet after loading the servlet class. The servlet instance is created only once in the servlet lifecycle. So only once it is created the instance. Then this init method is nothing but it's the web container calls. So your whatever is your web container, it calls the init method only after creating the instance. So once the instance is created, then only it is being called. And what do you mean by service method is being invoked? So there are multiple methods which you will be having, which you will write or which will be present, like your do get, do push, and you will have many such service methods that is being invoked. In that we write multiple program whatever we want to be executing, and then later we can call the destroy method. We can invoke the destroy method to destroy the whatever instance was created, and then the service method was called. So this is your entire life cycle of your servlet. So let us look at example of servlet and how does it work, then you'll get a clear picture of servlet. So to create a servlet in your project file, you have to go ahead and you have to expand this Java resources, and in src I'll go ahead and I'll create a new package called as sample. The reason I'm writing sample, or I'll just say servlet sample. Yes. Now once this is created, I can go ahead and I can, okay, I need to refresh this. I think this has been bugged. Let me just go ahead and refresh, because my packages was showing in library and that was funny. Okay, so in src I'll go ahead and click on this package and I'll say new, but I cannot create a class. I'm creating a servlet. So I'll scroll down and I'll search for servlet. If you don't have servlet, you can check on others and you can select servlets. So create a new servlet. I'll give this servlet class name as a sample servlet. So this is the servlet class name what I have given, and then I'll press on finished. So you see a servlet file is created for me. So if you're initially getting such errors, if you're getting these errors, then what you have to do is you have to right click on your project file, click on properties, then you have to go to Java build path, and then I think you have to go ahead and click on yeah, you have to go ahead and click on project facets. In that you have to go ahead and you have to click on runtime, and here you have to check Apache and you have to press apply and close. So you see this error goes away. So the reason why you were getting this error is your .java file was not able to recognize this, that it should run in your Tomcat server. So it was thinking this should run in your normal execution, like how you execute Java file, but this is not a normal execution of Java file. This is a web dynamic, right? So it should be executed through your Tomcat server. So you get sometimes error, sometimes you get, sometimes you don't. So if you don't get error, that's well and good. If you get error, then as I said, you have to right click, then you have to press on properties, then you go to project facets. In project facets, here you have to click on runtime and you have to select the Apache Tomcat. So you get the error out. So now once I have this, so you can see this is my complete servlet class. So you can see at the rate web servlet annotation, here I have my URL as servlet sample servlet. So if I write localhost and then the port number is 8080, and if I write slash sample servlet, that means this servlet is being executed. And if I load this, then do get method is executed. So what I'll do here is I'll quickly go ahead and I will change the content here. So I'll go ahead, and I do not require any constructor and all, so I'll just remove this comments and constructors. I'll remove this constructor so that I have space. Yeah, and then I'll remove this to get, and I'll write my own content here. So the content I'll write first is I have to write response dot, I will say set content type. So first I'm to set what content type it should render, right? So I'll say it should render as text HTML. Okay, then after that I have to write HTML content in this. So for that I'll write print writer. I'll create an print writer object. So print writer pw, or I'll say print, or I'll say out is equals to response dot get writer. Now you get an error, so you have to go ahead and you have to include the print writer from java.io, then you get the error gone. So once I have this print writer, then you see I'll write out object dot println. So what do I have to print? So I'll say print here h1 tag, and I'll say welcome to Servlet. So see here, what is the content it should load when if I write slash sample servlet. When I want this execute, if I want to execute this servlet, if I write slash sample servlet, then this is the content it should load. Now why am I writing it do get, not do post? Because once you're running this, it gets invoked by your do. It gets get method gets invoked. So when you're loading the content, so you have to use get method, right? When you're getting the data from server, or if you're getting the data as a response, then you have to use your get method. If you're sending the data from your view to controller, then you can use post method. So we'll be seeing that in further videos and you'll understand this better. So for now, just understand that we have to use get method to run this. Right now I have to go and execute this. So I'll right click on this servlet and I'll say run on server, and then I'll press finished. Then it will restart my server. Then you see I get this welcome to Servlet, right? So this is how you use your servlet in order to give the content. Now if you have to write any HTML code in your servlet, so it becomes a lengthier process, right? Say for example, I have to write HTML code to display some text. Then first I have to write out.println, and then I have to write the HTML tag. Then I have to go ahead and I have to close this HTML tag. Now after that I have to write then head tag, and then I have to close the head tag. Then you see multiple lines I'm writing here, right? Then I'll have my title tag where I will be writing title. This is wonderful. Yes, then I have to go ahead and I have to close my title tag. So you see this, it becomes more lines of code in order to rendering HTML programs. So if you compare this with JSP, so in JSP it's very simpler to add your HTML content and add Java content using your scriptlets. But coming to Servlet, if you're running HTML programs here, then it gets a hectic, or it gets a lengthier process. You have to write numbers of lines of code to render this. So that is why your Servlet is not suggested to write your HTML content. So that is why we use JSP to write your HTML code and Java code, and then get the content from JSP to your Servlet and then send it back to JSP and display it, rather than you writing the HTML code here, which gets more lengthier and it often gets more hectic. So this is all about your servlet, and this is an example running program for your servlet.